What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth. I am Mel. Joining me as always is Ronnie, Big Smooth Hennigan. Smooth, what's happening, man?
Not a whole lot, Mel.
I,
Valentine's Day and all of that. So
yeah,
we'll
I
see
and
how
while
to.
we got a moment,
Yeah.
not to cut you off, I want to tell my daughter because I have a teenager. She's 15 now. Want to tell my baby Amari happy birthday. I hope she's enjoying her birthday, but I'm a little nervous now. I've never outside of a sister or two, I've never had to deal with a 15-year-old. So this is new for me.
Man.
I see
Hey,
you
man.
got the infamous 2016 shirt on too. Like that.
Yeah, it made sense for the show, man. We're talking about basketball. Figure out how to represent, our one and only title. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good, man. We had a good run that year. It was definitely well earned. So just had to stick with the program.
Understandable. And joining us once again for this sports games episode are correspondents from Cleveland Sports Talk, Landon Levine and Kenny Nichols. Fellas, what's happening?
Nothing much.
Not much, man. Not much.
You know what? I want to tell I want to because Ronnie, I've been paying attention to the analytics on this,
Hmm.
and you're not gonna believe this, but our female viewership or listenership rather, since we put both on Anchor as well now, our female listenership has jumped from 60% to 73% since we've done these sports games episodes, and
Uh-oh.
Kenny has been on.
Uh-oh, you're looking for
Hey.
Kenny, it's the hair, man.
I
Yeah,
I
that's
I,
right.
I,
That's right.
took, I thought it was the scarf, but hey, what do I know?
A little bit of both.
Hey, I ain't gonna knock it. I ain't gonna knock it. All right. So, first on the agenda was we were going to basically we're gonna put it up to the NFL, and we had another trade talk, and uh, this particular trade talk had me wondering if they could pull it off. It was a four-team trade. I forget
Mm.
who the teams were, but I know it had to do with Watson, Sam Darnold. Um,
Russell
I'm
Wilson.
trying to remember. Yeah, Russell Wilson and somebody else. Now, the
Oh,
thing that
Garoppolo.
interested that's who it was. It was Garoppolo. So it was the Seahawks, Niners, Jets, and
Texans.
Texans.
Hmm.
Now, Nick Wright said this would be the most foolish thing uh, any of the teams would be able to do, but it will also be the best trade ever in NFL history. Now, I want to hear it from you guys because this was really interesting to me that they even thought about this as a trade. So, if they were to pull this off, who benefits the most from this trade?
I mean, looking at it, honestly, I feel like when you look at just player personnel in general, I feel like it sits more with Houston. It does suck to have to lose Deshaun Watson, but at the same time, they were saying something crazy like, what was it, three first round picks and a couple of second rounders or whatever. And I can't remember if that's the team that ended up getting Garoppolo or Darnold. But I was like, with that many other picks high up, if you set it up right with the GM, man, it could be worth it. And I think
Okay,
what Russell Wilson ends up in New York or something like that, the Jets, I believe it was,
here's what would happen. I just pulled it up. Here's what would
because
happen.
it was weird.
The Jets would receive Russell Wilson. The
Right.
Niners get Deshaun Watson. Houston gets Sam Darnold, three first round and one second round pick.
Yep.
And then the Seahawks get Garoppolo, Nick Bosa, and two first rounds.
See, here's the issue with that, because you got what? The Seahawks and the Niners in the same division. So to have Bosa jump over there, and then to see like their pick situation, I mean, what that does is I feel like it flips things around a little bit because you get Watson in 49ers offense, which for someone like Shanahan, he could definitely work with that. And there's a lot of options they could use with their setup. And they could become like that heavy rushing team that we know they can do, be and all that. But he also can deliver the ball the way he's delivered the ball too. It's very underrated. Um, I feel like for Seattle though, that definitely helps them out defensively. On the offensive side of the ball, it's kind of questionable, but I know that they claim, and this may be like something fake too. I'm not sure if it's real, but they were saying that Russell Wilson's kind of starting to feel a little indifferent being in Seattle still. I don't know how true that is. Maybe it's just a little bit of firepower to go along with the fake, you know, trade situation that they have going on. So that's probably part of it too. I do feel like though, with Wilson ending up in the Jets situation, him being there definitely elevates their offense a lot because they'll have like a true leader, a true veteran, someone who's already been to the highest game you can go to, you know. So they have that kind of experience coming there, right? He's very seasoned, very well with the ball in terms of protecting it and getting it downfield to the right people. So I feel like that will work in the Jets' favor for sure. I don't know about the whole Seahawk 49er thing. That just feels a little bit weird to me or whatever in that scenario. But I do feel like overall Houston would definitely win out only because of the extra player personnel they can get with those picks and being higher up like that if they play it right. That's the big thing if they play it right.
All right, Kenny, what about you?
I'm going to say that the Jets win this one. They get a top 5 QB. It's the most premier position in football, right? Can't win if you don't have the good QB. I'd say 49ers are second because they get their guy in Watson. The reason I'm taking the Jets over them, the Jets aren't giving up Nick Bosa, right? They're not giving up a superstar defensive end.
Yep.
Just picks. And I don't know if y'all have been paying attention too much, but the Jets haven't been doing such a great job with those picks. So
Man,
it wouldn't be
well,
the
give him to somebody
wouldn't be
else.
the end of the world to end up with Russell Wilson, new head
Yeah,
coach.
true.
I think that benefits them a lot. 49ers, Shanahan with Watson. I mean, that speaks for itself. That's crazy, right? Watson would go off in that offense. Might be looking at a legit Super Bowl contender year one.
Yeah, you know what? I can't say that I disagree with that. Landon, what about you?
This is kind of the first I'm hearing about this trade. I've kind of been, out of the loop a little bit, but I hate the Jets, and as long as they get rid of Darnold, I think they're going to be the real winners here. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
the Jets were what 2-14 this year or something. I mean, they need all the help they can get. So,
You know what? I'm gonna take a stab in the dark and play devil's advocate for a second, and I'm gonna say nobody wins in this situation because when I'm looking at this trade, the first thing that jumped off the screen to me was the New York Jets receive Russell Wilson. What is he getting into in that situation in New York? Because the last 3 years it's been a shitstorm up there. And as much as you know, I love New York as a city, as much as I support, New York teams outside of the Knicks, I I wonder what are they gonna put in place for Russell Wilson to be happy? Or is this gonna be another scenario where there's an unhappy quarterback, and not only is there an unhappy quarterback, there is a situation where it turns into a Deshaun Watson all over again. Not saying it gets racial or anything, but what if he's that unhappy? He vocally and publicly says, I want out after maybe 2 years there. Um, with the Niners aren't a bad team. We know, we know they have a great defense, but if Watson gets there, and that means you had to give up Bosa and 2 first rounds to get Watson there, what is that saying about your faith in whatever part of the team that you need to have faith in? Yeah, we know Kyle Shanahan's an offensive genius, but you still need a defense to stop everybody else from scoring. And you just lost, for the sake of this discussion, you just lost your best defensive player. What happens then? Who do you put in that role? And actually, you lost your best defensive player, 2 first-round picks, and a second-round pick. Oh, no, was it two? No, it was 2 first rounds. My bad. So you just lost a potential chance to replace him and didn't have to find anybody in free agency. With the Texans, it's been a shitstorm down there too with Bill O'Brien, the owner of the Texans as well. Anytime you drive your franchise player to the point where he wants out, that's a problem. Granted, Darnold has just left a shitstorm to go to another one. I don't think it would be as bad for him in Houston because they're also getting compensated for it. But still, JJ's gone. Watson's on his way out the door. You just lost your 2 franchise players. Yeah, you're getting 3 firsts, 1 second, but are you really making the situation in the locker room better? And that's my question that we still haven't got an answer for. And then with Seattle, I don't think I don't think the fans are going to welcome him with open arms as well as Bosa. Well, I think they'll welcome Bosa, but they won't be happy about
Yeah.
it. And Garoppolo ain't a bad QB. He's overcome some injuries. Seattle's not on a decline, but they are in a situation where, are they gonna be able to bounce back? Yeah, they made the playoffs. Yeah, they're still a good defensive team, but are they gonna bounce back offensively if if Russell Wilson's not behind center? And it's not saying that they can't. It's just a question. Russell Wilson, Jimmy Garoppolo, 2 totally different quarterbacks. It's been shown. So I'm wondering who really benefits from all of this, considering every situation given. I'm not against the trade. Let me make that clear. I'm not against the trade. I just wonder, is there a situation that is better than the next for each of these quarterbacks?
For me, Mel, 'cause I want to go back to what you were talking about for Seattle. With them, because the problem here is, yes, you do get Bosa, right? So that would definitely boost the defense. However, when it comes to quarterback play and losing Russell Wilson, that could also change the dynamic of the offense in terms of the receiving core. Because, like we've seen in the past too with different teams as well, some players just have that chemistry. And right now he's definitely locked in with DK Metcalf. I'm not sure if that translates to another QB like Garoppolo. I'm not sure if that would work the same, to be honest. Because even with top talent, you still got to have that relationship. We've seen that happen in Pittsburgh before, right? So when Antonio Brown was in Pittsburgh with Roethlisberger, even though there were some issues behind the scenes, those two connected when it came to the offense. And you saw the difference between that happening and then also, let's say Roethlisberger's hurt and Antonio Brown's still playing, his production's not the same because the QB's different. The relationship isn't there. It changed the whole dynamic of the offense. So I feel like in this situation, if something like that were to happen, which is why I said I'm not sure about the whole Seattle thing, I feel like this situation where Russell leaves, Garoppolo comes, Bosa comes, and let's say someone like Metcalf wants out too. Because you just lost a guy that was giving me my bread. Because at the end of the day, it's like I'm the one getting them incentives from this dude. Because you saw what he did with his players this past season. A guy needed an incentive, right? Was however many yards away from getting it. The coach was yelling in his face and all that. He like, look, dude was 5 yards away from getting the extra 250,000, whatever the amount was, and I just changed the play so he can get his money. Stuff like that, like kind of leadership or whatever, that will be gone. So the synergy in the locker room will change too because your overall commander on the offense is gone.
Yeah.
You think Garoppolo will come in there and do the same thing? I don't know. We have no idea. No idea. It's hard to can't really say he will or won't. I
Very
don't know.
true. Uh, quick update and Daytona 500. There was a crash and a
Uh
pile up earlier. But as I'm looking at this right now, Kevin Hardwick, I believe, is leading the pack. He's still in the pole position, so we'll keep an eye on that. I don't know. I haven't seen a NASCAR race in I don't know how long, so yeah, but we'll figure that one out eventually. Um, I just again, I'm not against the trade. What I'm worried about is who's really going to be happy in this scenario. You know, because it's really about if you're going to win and be successful in the NFL, you have to have a very solid locker room, and we saw Jets ain't got a solid locker room.
Mm,
Houston's locker room was breaking down over the last 2 years, at
yep.
least that we've paid attention to the last 2 years. Seattle, you know, I don't know what Pete Carroll got going on over there, but whatever it is, good players are leaving or good players are mad for whatever reason. Something's going on behind the scenes. I'm pretty sure that's gonna come to light if this trade happens. I'm pretty sure it's coming to light once Russell leaves. And the Niners are just, I guess they're in limbo
Hmm.
just because of, given the circumstance, Garoppolo was hurt, Bosa here and there, you know, it's the NFC West it's a crapshoot. You don't know what's gonna happen every week with that division, so it on the field it's the same way. I did not expect you know two teams to be playing because I honestly didn't think the Rams would have made the playoffs, but they did. And here we are talking about a trade involving Seattle and the Niners, and how would that affect the rest of the division? Who leads that division after that?
Hmm.
We'll figure it out. Um, I'm going to keep the NFL banner up, even though this next topic is not NFL related, but it is football related. The fan controlled football league started last night, and Johnny Manziel made his comeback. I don't know. Not only did Johnny make his comeback, but Marshawn Lynch actually toted the ball a couple times as well. First question to you guys is, what did you guys think of it, and do you see this panning out?
Mm. For me, it was just weird because, like, you know, Manziel's been trolling a lot recently, and people have been kind of like back and forth with dude and all that. And of course, he was hating on like Cleveland and their success and whatnot. And then here he is doing this and claiming that he jumped back in there because he just was bored and saying he doesn't have any um, true desire to really get back into the NFL and whatnot. I don't know how true that is, but for me, honestly, I just kind of followed it at a distance because of the fact that it did mention Johnny Manziel. I wasn't sure like how that would play out necessarily, but for me, I feel like for him, it's just another opportunity to be kind of out there in the open and being able to get that exposure once again and just to do something. Because to his point, he was one of those guys who wasn't really struggling before he went to Texas A&M. Family
Obviously.
was decent, right? Family was decent, well off. You know what I mean? It wasn't the same story that we normally see with someone's success. So for him, he's like, if I'm in the NFL, cool. If I'm not, whatever. It's all good. I don't care. And it's just very lackluster, and it's just something that I don't feel the urge to really follow that much, just because it's him and seeing what he did those 2 seasons in Cleveland. And I don't know, man. I just kind of took a step back from it. I more so was just following to see like anything that would have been said about his performance or something that he may be mouthing off about. But it looks like he hasn't really said a whole lot based off of the game itself, which was kind of rare because usually he's like jawing about something. And I did see a clip of him, you know, taking his first snap, and I'm kind of looking at that and seeing what he did. So basically, they said with the first snap that he took, he almost ran the whole thing all the way back, right? Just in that first play. And I'm thinking, okay, he's a little bit energized. Of course, he's not really out on the field as much like he would have been if he was still in the NFL. So he's got some fresh legs, stuff like that. And it was cool to see him like get some play. But for me personally, it's not something that I may be paying much attention to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I
Landon.
think they have a unique product now, right? Um, they've everybody's trying to start a football league. It seems, right? You have the XFL coming next year or 2 years from now. You had the AFL last year, where a bunch of players ended up in the NFL, even the playoff starting QB, Taylor Heineke, right, played in that league. I would assume that one of these leagues is going to stick at some point. It's happened in the past. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened again. The one thing I will say about the FCF is that they have something that no one else does, right? They're letting fans call plays. If that's able to create enough interest to even just get a niche audience, good for them. They'll be able to have success with that. But I don't know how marketable of a product it is. I don't know what their system is exactly with how they're letting fans call plays, if it's voting or what's going on there. But I would assume one of these leagues is going to stick at some point, whether it be this or XFL or 5 years down the line when we get another attempt at some league. Interesting idea, though, for sure.
I like the whole
Landon, what about
concept.
you?
I really hope it sticks. Just kind of going off what Kenny was saying, I think it's really cool. As a I didn't watch the games, but I watched a bunch of highlights, and after I did some research on it, I really hope it sticks, and I think it will because it gives fans, they're involved, they're not just watching, So, and it seems like it's a lot faster gameplay and everything. So it's pretty cool. I like it. I hope it sticks.
I was torn actually because I watched both games, and Ronnie, you missed a quarterback you had been telling me about. Patrick Bowles was actually lighting it up.
Mm.
But I was torn, because for me, being an indoor football player, seeing the wall, seeing the lights and everything, it brought me back, and it was like, okay, this might be able to work. The problem I had with it, honestly, was visually. I couldn't get with the uniforms. I couldn't. The stage in the background was throwing me off. Like, why is there a stage in the background? They come to find out that's where the players came out. Outside of that, I didn't have a problem with it. The games are very entertaining. I they said something because I was watching the post game show. They said something about another draft on Wednesday. So I'm under the assumption that these teams are drafting players every week. I could be wrong, but if I heard that right, that's what it looks like. So more than likely, I'll be keeping an eye on this. Other than that, the on-field product was pretty good. I just didn't. I'm not gonna say it's not gonna fail or it is gonna fail. I'm just up in the air about it because actual indoor leagues are starting up within the next 2 weeks. I know training camps will be starting up soon. So I did see an attempt at this a couple years back in the IFL with I believe it was the Salt Lake Eagles or something like that, and they actually had fans calling their plays, and it was entertaining. It wasn't shooting a bullseye, but I don't think this is a bad league. It time will tell, but if I'm looking for a better on-field product, I'm waiting for the XFL to come back. To be honest, just throwing that out there. It still wasn't a bad product. It's just I'm not big on the fans calling the plays. I get it. You want your fans to interact. You want your fans to be vocal about the teams, but me personally, if you're really trying to win, the fans will come. There's not a league we haven't seen where, the teams are fantastic, but yet nobody's in the crowd. Word spreads fast when you like a product.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm waiting to see. I'm gonna give it a couple more games, and then I'm gonna give my final take on it. But as of right now, it's not a bad product. It was very entertaining. Uniforms stink, but I like the team names: Wild Aces, the Glacier Boys. That was a pretty good take. But let's give it a couple more games before we see what happens. All right. From that, we move to the NBA. Now, I did see our editor and friend Zach Sheffron. He made a comment the other night asking about how LeBron is playing at such a high level still at age 38, 9, 40. It's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. But my question to you is, at this moment, is it safe to say that LeBron and the Lakers may be up for another championship?
Absolutely.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Oh,
100%.
They upgraded in off season. They do what they need to do. They're rolling, man. They are rolling. I know Giannis had a different take on that, which is the competitive spirit in him. So I'll give that brother that. I'm not going to knock that at all because you one of the top 3 players, man. You up for MVP too. You get to say that. He can say that. Him alone, he can say that. So I don't care who he play for. That man balling, he can say that. But at the same time, it is what it is, man. They've set themselves up to, I would say definitely do a back-to-back. I'm not sure about a three-peat, but a back-to-back for sure. You know what I mean?
You know what? I'm gonna give my take on this that statement, and then I'm gonna let you guys have the floor on this one. But I could see a three-peat. If they take care of LeBron, or let LeBron take care of LeBron, rather, meaning delegated rest nights or whatever, if he ever needs them, I could see a three-peat because let's just be honest about this. Who in the West is stopping him? And I don't mean team-wise. I mean a player. Name me one player in the Western Conference that has the best chance of actually stopping him. I don't see anybody. I mean, Giannis and company may have something to say about it, but until there is a player that stops LeBron, meaning keeping him from scoring, defensively locking him down like Isaiah used to do to Jordan. Until we see that, I honestly don't see that they will have a problem making it back to the finals for a third time. If they lock up the number 1 seed, we already know it's gonna be a bitch and a half going to LA to beat LA.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So when that happens, because they're 21-6 at the moment, so unless an act of God happens and they just shit the brick or shit the pooch the rest of the season, it's more than likely they will end up with home court. That's scary. That's scary. Even when LeBron was in the East with the Cavs, I get it. Back then, a lot of people didn't believe the Cavs would have a chance, but when the Cavs started winning home court, you don't want to go to any place the best player in the league as well as the world is at, and you have to play him on his home court. Fans, crowd control, the
Hmm.
energy. It's a totally different animal when you playing on the road. But when you got to see him at home, I I could see a three-peat. I'm gonna just leave it at that. I honestly can see a three-peat.
No, yeah, I mean, I could too. They upgraded the roster from last year. I mean, they were having Danny Green run out there and play 35, 36 minutes a night. Um, he's not their problem anymore. I know he would trend on Twitter from the jump, right? For his poor shooting performances and everything like that. They were able to add Dennis Schroeder, who I think is one of the more underrated guards in the NBA.
Hmm.
He's lightning quick and he can take care of the ball. He'll be a real asset in the finals. Um, and same with Montrezl Harrell, right? They got a nasty defensive stopper and a guy that brings attitude to their team. That's something that LeBron's only had a time or two in his career. Um, so I think that's really going to give him a big jump as well. Um, and at the end of the day, LeBron's still playing MVP basketball. I think it's 26, 8, and 8, and
That's
he's shooting
crazy.
better than he's ever shot before. Right, he's more efficient than ever. So it seems like he's only getting better, and we haven't even seen the best of AD yet this year. So that's a
Man.
See, that's another
Ooh.
thing too. And I'm glad you said that, Kenny, because like AD, man, he was so clutch in the playoffs this past season. I mean, I'm not sure if it turns out the same way if AD was there, because like the way it went down in the playoffs alone, I mean, it could have been partially that LeBron was just, doing what he does in terms of getting his teammates more involved and kind of letting them shine a little bit. That could have been part of it. Or it could have been the fact that AD was just going off because he like, this is my first title. You got a few already. I don't have none. So I'm gonna put my whole body on the line during this playoff, you know what I mean? Because I need to get one. And the thing is, he did that. He showed out. I mean, AD at one point in a couple of the series that he played was averaging like 34 points a game. I'm like, damn, like this wouldn't even happen all year. And when it was time to step up, he's like, okay, if I gotta be that dude to take the game winning shot at my position, being AD, not LeBron, AD, right? Taking game winning shots and all that kind of stuff. He like, I gotta do it. I don't care. I mean, if Bron for some reason showing that he a little fatigued or he a little off or whatever, I'll pick his slack up. I mean, it was like a leadership move. He kind of was just like, we gotta win. We got the greatest guy in the NBA and in the world on our team. But at the end of the day, if he having an off night, somebody got to pick it up, and I'll be that dude. So having him in there is why I do feel that way about them having like that back to back because you figure that's a guy who can step away from the paint, but also can play like a big too. He's very multi talented like that. So having two guys on the floor who could potentially play all five positions, it's just that's where the unfair advantage is, and that much size too. That much height, and that much size, and that much weight, and moving around the way they do and finessing like that. It's just unheard of, man. It ain't fair, really. It's like a cheat code. You know what I'm saying? So just seeing them guys out there doing that is amazing, man. Like I'm not even a Lakers fan, but I know when I see good basketball, man, them boys balling. So I don't see them losing that this year. We'll have to see about that third. Like you said, Mel is very possible for sure. But we'll see what happens in the off season when they make more moves or whoever makes more moves. But it's just something missing. Like talking about the West and like you're looking at Milwaukee and teams like that. There's just that one piece that's missing. They'll have these dominant players like a Giannis or something like that, but you still got something else missing. Or you got like someone like the Nets who loaded up and they got their three or whatever, but their synergy ain't right. When Cleveland beat them a few weeks ago, I was like, oh, okay, so y'all doing that? I go, okay, I get it. Harden hadn't been there long enough, whatever, but he's played with KD already. That's familiar. You know what I'm saying? And then bringing Kyrie into the mix, I'm not even sure how Kyrie and Harden really mixed together. I know they played a little bit in the offseason, these random little leagues they were doing or whatever, in Puerto Rico and some other places. That part I get, but in terms of like NBA basketball for a whole season, it's like having an all-star game every week, and that doesn't always work. So it's only time will tell to see if those three together actually work, because they've had some off nights, bad off nights with those three. So I don't know, but yeah, Lakers don't have it.
Man, and what about you?
Oh man, where do I start? Number one, I hate the Lakers ever since 2002 when they beat the Kings,
Oh,
or
Jesus.
when the refs. I'm a huge Kings fan. But
Okay, that makes sense.
I do respect good athletes, and I think LeBron, if he can stay healthy, he's a freak of nature. I think that, maybe we got to have another episode with a debate about who's better, LeBron or Jordan. But I think he's kind of the GOAT. So, and he's great, and I think the team he has around him is pretty fantastic. And I just want the Kings to beat him a couple times this season, and I'll be happy. But I know that's never going to happen. So,
never know, man. I've seen weird shit happen.
But yeah, no, Lakers. I think that they're dominant, and they're going to keep being dominant. I think they're the new powerhouse. They got a dynasty going. So it makes me sad to say that, but what can I do?
Now, just remember, Ron, LeBron's stuck there, for the next, I think it's like next 4 years still.
Yeah.
So and truth be told, as long as he can convince AD to stay, everything else can fall into place. You can find what you need in free agency. And that's the scary part to me about having LeBron on your team. Is like you already got what you need with one player.
Yep.
Now you got two that can. And this was because I wanted to piggyback off it. You don't just have one. You got two players that could potentially play all 5 positions.
Two. And Bron's never had that.
How do you you got LeBron that can do it. And the crazy part about it is you got him and AD. And when you look at that on paper, you're just like, okay, that's not as bad as it sounds. But when you see it live in a game, now you're like, now we got a problem. And the first question you should be asking as an NBA coach, not named Doc Rivers or dare I say Donovan, is how do you defend that? Because defending Kevin Durant is one thing. It's a 7-foot shooter that can dunk, and he can actually play center if he got his head together. But now you're facing a 6'8" and a 6'10" player, and both of these guys can play all 5 positions in an offense that's tailored for them. And once you get even like you said, like Kenny said, got rid of Danny Green. I didn't like that move, but I'm pretty sure that it had to be made in order to do what they're doing now. But if you were to add Danny Green back to the mix, now you got 2 guys that could play all 5 positions and a 3-point shooter who's actually pretty good. Now you got a problem. I think the disc is going to turn for the Western Conference. I'll say that. I think this is going to take a turn for the worst. Come, what is it? This is February now. So come April, it's going to get bad. Because LeBron will be in playoff mode, and then we'll be seeing him push AD. We'll be seeing him push the rest of the team. The bench will probably come out shooting lights out. I can honestly see a 3-peat just based off of that. If you got LeBron and you keep AD, you got a solid chance to at least take the conference again. And once you got that, everything else would probably fall into place.
Here's something I want to add to that too. So you do make a good point. And the thing that we have to remember too is that LeBron makes everybody around him better. And I think what we're going to end up seeing in the next season or two is the full potential being met for Schroeder. Because I don't think he's hit his peak yet, but I think LeBron's going to get that out of him. There's a thing that he does. So when you see that dynamic between him and like a point guard or whatever that gets it, or one that's willing to kind of have that type of synergy with him and not butt heads with him and actually take that advice or to do those things that kind of like not take them away from their game but allow them to elevate their game. We've seen that work out very well. Because Rondo, I mean, dude, like he's had a great run when he was with the Celtics, right? But then to come over to the Lakers and do that and be able to be on the same team with LeBron, you know, I didn't think I would ever see that, first of all. Secondly, it allowed him to still play at a decent level even at his age, you know, and be able to get that title. And I was just thinking, like, you had to have like taken a back seat a little bit and been like, okay, I got LeBron on my team. You know, at one point we was going at it, but all that's behind us. We want to make sure we get this title and do what we got to do. And he had to take in that back seat and just, you know, fell into that same routine that a lot of other players do when they're playing alongside him. Because I feel like that dude can like have a certain whisper or like that coach type of feel on the court and just set guys up. You know, he could say, okay, yeah, I could be in ISO all day and I could score 60 a game. I don't want to do that. I want to pass the ball. I want to be able to get y'all involved. How do I do that? You know, studying guys and bringing the best out of them and setting them up, saying, okay, well, if I go this way and you cut like this, I know you don't maybe feel comfortable doing that, but that's going to be your best success. I feel like they're having those kind of conversations, and we've seen that happen with the people he's had on the floor. And then once he leaves the team, those same players that were doing some of those things with him on the floor can't do it all of a sudden. It's like he just left their body. They just don't have the ability anymore. And I think that's the difference that he brings, right? So I'm excited to see him with Schroeder. I feel like that's a younger, you know, point guard, first of all. So there's only time, you know, in front of him, right? And like we just said, with LeBron, even with him being, you know, 36, 37 years old, whatever, he's getting better. And he has not slowed down. You know, he's controlling some things in the game a little bit differently. I know he's not bodying people up as much, but if he has to get up in there, he will. And to your point, Mel, talking about, you know, how do you defend that? I honestly don't know because it could be a situation where they go, okay, you have AD in the paint, which you expect him to be there, but then it could be a situation where they go, okay, let's have LeBron go around here, run the perimeter a little bit, do some stuff in the paint, have AD bring the ball up. What you gonna do then? Who gonna
I
DM
never
up?
thought about that. I
Who
never
gonna
thought
DM
about
AD?
that. That's a bad scenario because I never thought
Right.
about that.
You gonna try to trap AD, bruh? If AD come down the court, right, bring the ball up from the other side, hitting half court, you're gonna try to trap this dude. You now have one less player playing defense, and you gonna let LeBron run around and do whatever he feel like?
Yeah, that's a
No,
scary thing.
you can't stop that. You can't, man. Oh my God. Okay, I'm with you. Three. All right, three-peat. Three-peat. Three-peat.
Okay. I didn't want to bring this question up, but I saw this on our correspondent, our colleague rather, Josh Unger's post. So Josh seemed to wonder, should the Cavs be work focused on developing talent or making a play for the playoffs? And personally, I said, why not both? Because here's the deal. We already knew going into the season, actually going into the season before COVID hit, that LeBron was already in LA. It's not going to change. LeBron's probably going to run the West, and the East is going to look like shit until somebody makes a stand. At the moment, the Sixers happen to be that team. But we also saw the Sixers let us down, and you know, it wasn't the finals we expected, but it was the finals that happened. So my question to you fellas, and I really want to hear this from Kenny and Landon the most because we both write for Cleveland Sports Talk, so I figured you guys had a better shot at giving me a decent answer besides the one I had. Why not? Why not make a push for both? Develop the talent and make a push for the playoffs with a terrible conference lineup.
So I think the Cavs know that the team goes with the young guys, right? There's three players that they're building around. That's Colin Sexton. He's the obvious one. Darius Garland, their other first-round pick, and then Jared Allen, who they just recently got from the Nets. Drummond was resting tonight, so perhaps that means that they're shopping him in some trade talks and everything. So we might get an
I hope
answer on
not.
that question real soon.
I hope not.
But Jared Allen playing more is going to translate to winning basketball. The guy's an elite rim defender. As him, Sexton, and Garland get better and more comfortable working with each other, that's just going to make the team that much better, right? So I think the priority is getting the minutes, and as good as they get is how far the team's going to go. That's how it's going to be. I don't see any scenario where they can really go out and make some big move. Even the only guy that's really available that I could see them being interested in is John Collins from the Hawks, the power forward, because he's a younger guy. But I don't see any way that they're really going to make a move like that work. I don't think they're interested in trading a guy like Larry Nance. You're probably just going to see a couple small moves like Drummond for a pick, maybe a player, and then JaVale McGee for a pick or something like that, right? And they're mostly going to hold pat and just let the young guys get better.
Landon, what about you?
I can't even name one player on the Cavs. And I'll tell you why. I'm like a broken record, but ever since the Kings lost in the Western Conference Finals, I've been turned off against basketball. But I do think that, kind of going off of what Kenny was saying, let the young guys go. I don't know anything about the Cavs. I don't even know. I can't name your coach. I can't name anybody on the Cavs. But let the young guns go. Let them do their thing, and they'll go as far as they're supposed to go.
All right, Smooth. Give it to me straight, man.
Here's the thing, man, because as y'all were talking about it, there was a report that came out an hour ago from Cleveland.com, right? So they were talking about this as well. They were saying with the trade deadline being the 25th of March, it's looking unlikely that Drummond will still be in Cleveland since Jared Allen has slid into the starting spot. And also with him and JaVale McGee both having expiring contracts this year as well. That does make the most sense, unfortunately, but here's the problem with that. If you let someone like Drummond go, let's say he doesn't stay with the team, he ends up coming off the bench, all this kind of crap, whatever. And let's say there's talks about, okay, the trade may not happen, but they could buy him out. If you buy this dude out, guess where he going to go? Probably the Nets or the Raptors. Let's just be real. Let's just be real for a sec. If he goes to the Nets,
it's over.
I guess you're working on development then, to answer your question, Mel. That sounds like development to me because it ain't playoffs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not this season. Not this season. I'm not saying I'm ruling out completely, but still a chance for an 8 seed, 7 seed, whatever. But he gonna go to the Nets if they buy him out. He gonna go to the Nets or the Raptors, man. That's a done deal. Done deal.
The only problem with that, with him going to the Raptors, I'll say that. The only problem, and I do mean if he was to go, the only problem with the Raptors is the Raptors are sitting in 8th right now. So how much of a jump are they really going to make outside of 2 spots to 6th?
Right. It won't be higher than that.
And then as I'm looking at the standings right now, the Cavs, it's a 3-way tie or 2-way tie for 13. The Cavs aren't out of it.
No.
Truth be told, they're only really 4 games back out of 4th place, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at the games where I can find them, because Fox Sports played everybody. As I'm looking at this, I don't see why they couldn't make a play for the playoffs. It's not saying they're gonna make it, but you got Sexton, you got Garland, you got Allen, you got Nance, you got a good core group of guys. So why not? Look, we're gonna put y'all on the court. Y'all do y'all thing. We're gonna see how this shit play out. I don't see what's wrong with that because You can't. What's the worst that could happen? They make it to ninth, 10th, and then next season that core stays together. And now they've been playing a whole season. They already know how this is going. I don't
True.
see why they couldn't. And I would actually push for that because if you push, and this is just my thinking, if you push them and you push them not just physically but mentally, I think some positive things might start to happen. I mean, we already know Nance comes from a line of basketball, so there's no need to push Nance. I think the push that Nance needs is mental, and
Hmm.
I don't think that's going to come from Larry Senior because Larry Senior, you catch him at the games, he just chilling. He just here to watch the game. He ain't here to coach or nothing.
True.
So I think that coach needs to push Larry mentally to a point where he turns into, dare I say, a Larry Nance Sr., a Brad Doherty, maybe even a Ron Harper before he left Cleveland. Make him have a mean streak, a killer instinct, and then, you know, influence Garland and Sexton. Hey, look, you guys lead the team. You got to enforce her. Do what y'all need to do. The East right now is terrible. Outside of Milwaukee, Brooklyn, and Philly, it's terrible. If you were going to make a statement, in my opinion, it would
Hmm.
be now. Because, like I said, outside of Philly, Milwaukee, and Brooklyn, who else has a better chance to knock any of those three off? Because if it stays like it is right now, those would be the top three seeds, and everybody in the first round that has to go to them is probably going to get swept.
Yeah.
I
Pretty good
personally
here.
think this would be a time to do both. Develop these guys on the court and tell them to make a push for the playoffs because it's not out of reach.
Yeah, and that's the
That's
difference with
just
the East
me.
right now. You know,
That
it's just so
I mean,
wide open. Like,
it's been like as quiet as it's kept, and I know people are gonna disagree with this, but quiet as it's kept, it's been like that since Jordan left, up until LeBron got there, and then LeBron had to deal with those same Piston teams that Jordan had to deal with. And then once LeBron left the conference, it went back to shit, which was pretty much how it went when Jordan left. It was pretty much wide open. This would be a perfect opportunity. I'm I'm that player that's always looking to see who gonna get caught slipping. And I think this would be a chance for the Cavs to catch the whole conference slipping outside of
hmm
the top three we just named. So me personally, I say go for it. They probably ain't gonna watch the show and listen to it, but I'm still gonna say go for it. All right. Now we get to the milk and honey of the show. Our top hoop games. Now, Landon, I gave you a free pass because you kept bringing up these backyard games, and I actually went back and go. I've actually went back to go play some of these games. They're not bad. They're not bad. A
Yeah.
little too, a little too nice for my taste, but I'm gonna let it go. It was still some fun. Yeah. So I'm going to give the floor to you, Landon. Give you the floor. Top five. Order doesn't matter, but just hit us with the top five.
So I think the list I sent you. So I was originally going to do the backyard games, but then I sent you my other list, and I kind of went away from them. Number one, got to be the second NBA Street. That was a
Oh,
fun game.
okay. Let me find that one. Yep, there we go. Volume two.
Yep.
I can agree with this. We all love this game. My
that was
nickname
good.
for my player on that game was Rain because all I did was shoot threes. I was too short to go and dunk on people.
That game was fun. When you get the game breaker, I mean, that game probably broke up so many of my friendships when I was younger. So I was just a savage, dude. I just wouldn't even care. I would just pick, the best players ever, and I would just go for it. all the tall guys and just do dunks, game breaker every single time. So
This guy.
that was fun.
You that dude that had people unplugging your controller on purpose.
Yep, 100%.
Wow. All right, what's the next one?
I think it was NBA Live 03 or 04.
Oh, 03 with Jason Kidd on the cover.
Yep. That one, that was like the first real NBA game that I played. I was probably about born in 96. I was like maybe 6 or 7 when that one came out, and I used to go to my friend's house, my neighbor's house actually. And we used to just spend hours playing that, and it was like a super nostalgic thing. When you asked this question, I, thought back and, in my head, and I was like, wow, this is taking me a trip down memory lane. And it was fun. It was fun. I remember we used to turn off the fouls, put the speed up to 100, turn off out of bounds, turn off the shot clock. So we had a lot of fun.
Oh, man, y'all was going in.
We had a lot of
That
fun
sound
just hanging out,
that sound like
15-minute quarters, and it'd be like 200 to 250 at the end.
that sound like ghetto ball to me.
Yeah.
All right. I'm trying to remember your list off the top of my head. I want to say you had. Let me find it. Let's just be smart about this. Yeah. Oh, you said it was. Oh, NCAA 10.
Yeah, that one. Because that's kind of also nostalgic. I think that was the last. I think it was the last year of the NCAA college hoops. But that one was. I just loved the NCAA games, and the gameplay in that one was pretty smooth and pretty easy for me to understand. And again, we would always turn off, fouls and shot clocks and everything. And I really liked the college basketball games a little more than the college football games. I thought
traitor.
I felt the gameplay was better, and I liked how when you were at the foul line, when fans would be going crazy, the screen would shake. So I thought
that was what they did in the college football games, man.
Yeah, but
it didn't have to be at the foul line.
In the basketball games, I could actually figure out what I was doing. In NCAA football, I couldn't figure out what I was doing. I couldn't see anything.
That's how it is at a real home game.
Squiggly lines
can't
coming
see
up.
Nothing, can't hear nothing.
Squiggly lines coming up. Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Like, where am I running?
It's worse. I tell you this, it's worse in the arena game because you really can't hear nothing, especially if the crowd is like dumb, stupid loud. And they give you, or let's say they give you give the opponents bullhorns, the little clapper things that they had to go basketball. I hated those things.
I can imagine that.
All right, yeah, it's a pain in the ass. And you had NBA Street Home Court.
Yeah.
That it? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I didn't know nothing about this one, so you gotta give me the details.
So that was basically, I never did like the career mode or anything on that one. If I remember correctly, it was kind of just like Street, but a little not as fun, a little more rules in there. But it was Xbox 360, another classic. We would just have a lot of fun with it. Players were super fast, super smooth, easy gameplay. I don't like when I'm playing sports games and the players feel heavy. I like being able to actually move.
Makes sense.
So, and that one, it was just fun. I don't really like I like 2K a little bit, NBA Live, but more of like the NBA Street and stuff. That was more my go-to because it was just more fun. You could do a lot more.
All right, that makes sense. I didn't mean to delete that last overlay because I know somebody else was going to use it, but it's okay. I got it again. And then your last game was, if I'm not mistaken, it was 2K19, correct? All right. Why this game?
The only 2K game that got the 02-03 Kings roster correct. Playing the legend teams and everything, and they had my version of the Fab Five. That Weber and everybody, and Peja and Bibby, Vlade Divac, and that's just out of all the 2Ks. Again, sound like a broken record, but the players are easy to move. I can't make threes in that game because I can't ever figure it out, but it's fun. The fouls are a little bit over the top, but I always turn them off anyway. So I like to have
not like fouls.
If I'm paying $65-$70 for a game, I'm gonna have fun with it. I'm gonna turn off all the fouls, all the out of bounds shot clock, bump up the sliders. So
wow. Hey, you know what? I got a really funny, quick story. I used to play with some friends of mine. We used to play the original 2K games on a Dreamcast. And don't ask me why, but I would always play with the Pacers. Back then, you knew who was best Pacer ever was. So this particular game we're playing, I keep passing the ball to Reggie. Reggie is ice cold. Reggie's so cold. If you threw him in Lake Erie right now, he still wouldn't have hit nothing. Come to find out, I paused the game and I looked. They done turned my sliders all the way down on 3-pointers. Like all my sliders. No, can't make a layup, can't make a 3, can't make a 2-pointer. Like they snubbed me. I lost that game like 100-50.
They're smart. That's what you got to do. If you want to win, that's what you got to do.
That would have ended the friendship right there. All right, Landon, we got you next, and I remember you saying you actually had a pretty good list. So, what was your top one?
Mine?
No, Kenny.
My top list, my top one. My first one was NBA 2K14. This was the first game of the console jump from 360 to Xbox One and PS3 to PS4. So I played the heck out of this game when I got my brand new PS4. This is the first game I bought. I spent hours on this. This was what I think was the best My Team they ever had. They had a wider variety of packs. Just the whole My Team experience was way better in this one. It wasn't as commercialized just to make a ton of money and everything like it is now. It was actually super competitive. The gameplay was smooth, and you could tell that they put a lot of effort into it and trying to please the community. It was a great game. My second one was NBA 2K17. So 17, this was my first year of college, and my friend and I just played this game religiously every single day. I'd get done with class, and we would play the rest of the day, all through the night, whatever. They actually had 2K League was introduced, which is like the gaming e-league, was introduced this year for 2K17. So they were having tryouts for that stuff, and I remember trying to go through all that stuff and make it big in the video game world, but that didn't work out so well for me. But it was,
hey man, don't feel
it was
bad.
a good time.
It happens.
That was a great game. That's probably the last best one they made, and my career was better than most of the other ones. And that one I remember they had Michael B. Jordan play like your best friend sidekick type deal. He was the beta to your alpha, and it just made my career kind of great. They introduced Team Takeover, which is a big part of the game now, and yeah, one of their last good products. My third is NBA Street Volume 2, which I know Landon had on his list. Um, there's something about those Street 2 games. I don't know. I know NFL Street 2 is my favorite, and NBA Street 2 is also my favorite. So I don't know what they did the second time, but they seem to get it right. Um, I played this game last year again and beat it. I'll still play this game today. I don't know. It's great. It's fun to pull out with a couple of friends, and you can do the 3-on-3 mode where you can play against all the legendary teams and everything like that. It's a great game. Everybody should try to play that. Another one that I had on my list that is also on Landon's was NCAA Basketball 10. Like he said, this was the last NCAA basketball game that they made. Definitely still have this. I played this pretty recently. Blake Griffin on the cover. He was the staple of the game. Anytime you load it in, you'd just be able to run around, dunk, shoot, do whatever with Blake Griffin. And he was nuts back in the day, right? The guy was a human highlight reel, so he was always fun to run around and dunk with. And, being a big Maryland Terps fan, that was one of the last good teams they had because they had Gary Williams still. So every once in a while, I can reminisce and play that game with him and Grievous Vasquez leading the squad. And my last one was NBA 2K11, which
That's the one I keep putting up here.
right. So there was kind of a war between NBA Live and NBA 2K, and I believe I jumped ship at 2K10, but I have to give 2K11 its flowers because it's the one that won the war. It ended it, and you haven't really heard from NBA Live since, besides a couple of pretty lousy attempts at a game. NBA 2K11. Who didn't want to play with Michael Jordan and relive some of the best moments of his career? And I mean, the gameplay was incredible, right? They finally made that jump to like a next gen style gameplay. It was realistic. It was fast paced. The player models were great. I mean, you gotta give his credit, you know.
I can relate to that, and I'm glad you brought up Jordan because this is why I wanted to have this specific list, and I wanted you guys to be on this show because there was a lot of Jordan stuff that we had. And Ronnie, I'm gonna just let you have this one. Go ahead, take the floor, bro.
Cool. All right, man. So the first game that I had was NBA Jam, but the actual classic NBA Jam, not the new one that's out. Yeah, man. There you go. The OG. So with NBA Jam, of course, on that game, I was always playing with like the Cavs because anytime I got a chance to use, Mark Price, I was happy about that. One of my top players back in the day. Got a chance to meet him in person. Real humble guy, and arguably one of the best 3-point shooters ever. So that's another thing that he doesn't get a lot of credit for either. He doesn't talk much about him, which I don't feel is cool. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna shout him out. Also, like of course, when you go on fire, you can't miss. You shoot from all over the court. You know what I'm saying? The basket burns up. The net gets all disappears, like one of those hood nets. Where there's no chain or nothing like that. It's just a big rim, and it's just open. You know what I'm saying? You can't see if you really hit or not unless you're underneath. So they had that. You could shatter the backboard. When it came to fouls, there were none, so you shoving people in the air, you know what I mean, and knocking them off, of course, and the ball coming out or whatever. High flying dunks where there was like 360s, flips, spins, all kind of stuff like that. Also, too, once you were on fire, of course, you had increased shooting percentage for anybody. So all of a sudden, Brad Daugherty was a 3-point shooter when you were on fire, you know what I mean, which he would never hit the game, but it was cool to see, So that game was just awesome, man. I played it for hours on hours, 6 hours later, Mom like, the food's getting cold. I'm like, I ain't even hungry, you know what I'm saying? I was drinking some water. But that's just a lot of fun playing these type of games. I used to love it. The second one I had was Bulls versus Blazers, right? So this was my introduction to EA Sports right here. First EA Sports game I ever played on any type of level when it comes to basketball, football, whatever. That was the first one. In that game, it was cool because you got to use the Bulls roster. It was one of the first games that actually featured a full roster as well of NBA teams. Because back then, it was like a lot of these games had maybe 2-on-2, 3-on-3 type of situations. Didn't have like a full roster featured, or they had certain players where their name wasn't really there, like you knew who they were. So Jordan was always like player 99 or something like that. And the stats would be all boosted up, but you knew it was Jordan. They never would say Jordan. This game would actually say it. What I liked most about it too was the features they had on there. So they had these different types of shots, they call them, where for each team there was, star player, and they got to do their move, their signature move, whatever it was. So like it was Jordan dunking from the foul line. You know, you had Mookie Blaylock with the 360 layup. You had Karl Malone with the special delivery dunk. And all this kind of stuff. Or here's one for you, Anthony Hardaway with the UTEP crossover. Like it was just
Man,
nostalgia
did
all
he
over.
just
I had to put
did
that
he
out there.
really
Yes,
just
sir.
say the UTEP crossover?
The UTEP crossover. Yeah, man. Bring that
Wow.
back. Yeah, that's
I
history.
ain't heard that in years.
I know that's like some ESPN classic stuff now, man. It's crazy. But like, for it to feature a full roster in the game was rare back then. So that was like kind of like the granddaddy of them all. For my third one, I put NBA Live 2000 because with this one, of course Tim Duncan was dominating the league at the time. Spurs were just killing people. It also was a feature for Michael Jordan as well because, like I said, player 99 was where it was at. But with this game, you had to beat Jordan 101 in the street game on hard mode. And once you did that, you unlocked him for your roster to be able to play as Jordan in the game, which was very rare back then. So I'm like, ooh, I get to actually play with Jordan and actually have him on my team. Cool. But I had to beat him 1-on-1 on hard mode. Only person I could beat him with was a big. So whether it was Duncan or Shaq or somebody that was just like way taller than him, that was blocking everything pretty much, you can pretty much do that. You can back him up, and just dunk him. Because Jordan was not about to physically overpower any centers or whatever. So if you did it right, you could end up winning that game pretty easily. But trying to like take him on 1-on-1 and crossing him over, it just wasn't going to work. And he would just bounce outside and hit that little fadeaway jumper on you every single time anyway. So, and they would talk crap during the 1-on-1 game too. Like yeah, ad libs in there like, "Oh, that was nasty," or in your face and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of trash talking was just to the game as well too, which I liked about the 1-on-1 mode. The fourth game for me was NBA 2K20 because at this point I wasn't playing a whole lot of NBA games, but like I had got that for a huge discount. The fact that it had featured AD was pretty cool because I followed him a little bit in college and then also seeing him finally get out of New Orleans, man, I thought that was awesome for him. Definitely a fan of his. In that game, it was just cool to see like the pro-am games, the ability to play people in neighborhood mode on the courts, whether it was like a full 5-on-5, 3-on-3, whatever it was. You set that up. You had your home court that you practiced on. They had that shot feature where you could like see the meter go up and down at the time you shot properly. And every time it hit green, you knew it was going to hit the bottom of the net every single time, which was pretty cool. And also, it was the final game to pay a true homage to Kobe. So in that game, you had like your My Team and everything else, and they came out with a special card for him right after he had passed last year, and it was one where like it had a bunch of boosted features or whatnot, and it was a code that you could keep using over and over to get it. So once it ran out, you could use that code again and wouldn't say, "Oh, you still use whatever." You could just keep doing it because it was Kobe. They kind of did him right, man. So for me, that was like a highlight in my book. Also had different features.
Wait. Time out. I don't mean to cut you off real quick.
Go ahead.
But because you put him on there, 2K20, am I alone in this? Or does it not look like Anthony Davis and Tiny Lister are separated at birth or father and son? Or y'all would know him as Debo. My bad. Y'all would know him as Debo. Y'all
Man.
really don't. So I'm alone in this. It's just me. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, man. Sorry, man. It's all good, man.
I'm gonna put a picture up later on the fan page so y'all can see it. Y'all paying attention to the wrong stuff.
Who'd you say?
Debo.
Oh, from Friday? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm telling y'all, man, y'all ain't paying attention. It's there. It's right in front of you. Lookalikes. Father and son, at least. The eyebrow is very compelling.
Oh man. But no,
I'm
like
telling you, man, y'all missing it. Right in front of you.
but I will say, the only other feature that I had for that game really that I liked a lot was to be able to scan yourself and put yourself
Hmm.
on the game and to look realistic and see how you actually look on the game. That was pretty freaky for us, first of all. 'Cause I was like, I didn't think that would ever be possible. So to get that free app to do that with, man, I thought it was pretty dope. So that was the last thing that caught me with that. And I played for hours on hours once I got it. I bought the digital copy for half off because I'm always that guy who will wait until like Black Friday or something like that. You get 2 for 1 type deals. And I did a pretty good one when it came to this past year with Christmas and all that because I was able to buy like Avengers and the new Assassin's Creed or whatever. And then I also got Madden 21 and got all three of those for like $80. So I mean, you got to do what you got to do to kind of get the deals right. Last thing here, man, I had NBA Live 10. So I know he got that on the screen. You know what I'm saying? Featured Dwight Howard. That was that year when Orlando was killing it and was like smashing Cleveland, even though they had like 60 plus wins that year. That was just a nail in the coffin for them. Unfortunately, that team was really good as well too. Having like Jameer Nelson out there, which is cool to see that collaboration. Also, I got a copy of that in front of me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
I just
God.
played it before we got on the show, just to do it one
This
more
guy.
time, man. So with that, I felt like for PS3 that was a huge bump for graphics. It felt very realistic to have that game like that. I felt like it was the last best version of an NBA Live game. After 10, it was just downhill from there. They tried to put like Kyrie on the front one year and some other players or whatever. It just didn't work. 2K was king after that. Once that 11 came out, that was it. It just took off, man. No one plays live anymore. But in this game, man, you have full control with the L3, R3 for you Sony people to be able to like maneuver around, get your crossover right, time in a certain way, and ISO and all of that. Spin moves a lot easier, a lot more ball control underneath, behind the back, stuff like that. A smoother alley oop as well. When you throw it to people, it looked more realistic because you had to time it right. Otherwise, they weren't going to catch it. It wasn't like I was just, oh, it bumps off my head and falls in my arm and now it goes in the basket. Like it had to be done right. You know what I'm saying? It also featured FIBA, which was very rare to see on the game. So having like FIBA international play, the Adidas basketball squad and all that, and the customizations there. It had a DNA roster. So whatever that player was doing at that time frame, or let's say they were hurt a little bit that week in the actual live NBA season, they would update that live. So you're playing or whatever, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I did lose Jason Kidd this week, and you try to go play the game or whatever, and it would download down the roster, and you're like, I can't use Jason Kidd on a dang on video game. Like y'all take him off for however long he hurt for. I'm like, that's crazy, right? It was that realistic, real time or whatever we played. And then the last thing I would take from that game was the crowd experience. So like the crowd was very interactive. The noise, the presentation of that, the commentary, it felt like you were at a game, especially when you had it in broadcast mode. Like you really felt like you were there. So they did justice with the arenas, how that stuff looked, on the court, the players coming out and doing the thing. It was just really, really cool to kind of see that. And the people on the sidelines, it was like real jerseys, not like those weird like makeshift ones where some people have a name and some don't. That's the player. It could be the number and like a weird head kind of person and not a real player. You actually saw the full team sitting on chairs and actually supporting their team. So that was the first time I saw that in a game. So it was a lot that went into it. Unfortunately, after that, it just wasn't in the cards for live to be around anymore or be that successful. But yeah, that's my top five, man.
I respect you guys' top fives. I really do because I'm not one to be hateful of anything. I love sports games, even the ones that were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, for me, I wanted to go last on this one because Ronnie, I wanted to give you some nostalgia. Kenny and Landon, I wanted to give y'all a throwback because I know you guys don't come across these games often. I know you've seen them, but it's different when you get them in front of you. So my first at number 5 was Tecmo Super NBA Basketball.
Wow.
The heck is that?
Oh
Yeah,
my.
yeah.
Wow.
Okay, now let me give you the
Oh,
backstory on this.
I'm about to get the
Um,
emulator. You know me. You know me, man. About to put that
now
on my
back
phone.
in the day, Tecmo was king of sports. It wasn't Madden. It wasn't EA, but EA was on its way. But it was
Hmm.
originally Tecmo because Tecmo was the first to get the licenses for the NFL as well as the NBA.
Yep.
Uh, this particular game gave you the Bulls with Michael Jordan on the roster with his name and the Bulls were at full strength. So this had to be like 92, 93.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was the Bulls and the Cavs were the toughest teams on the game. On top of that, it was full rosters, injury reports, MVP stats, all of that. And they made it to the point where I hate to say it like this, but if you were playing with the Bulls or the Cavs, no black guy made a 3-pointer. It was all the white guys on the team.
Hmm.
Paxson, Kukoc, Kerr,
Hmm.
Mark Price, Craig Elo, because he was still on the team at that time. Like
Yep.
those were the guys you need. If you needed a 3-pointer, those were the guys. Nobody else, not even Jordan, was making a 3-pointer. It was terrible,
Nope.
but
It was Tony
but
Kukoc.
Jordan, yeah, but they evened it out because Jordan was very unstoppable when you go to make a dunk. It was him and Horace Grant. You having problems.
Yep.
At number 4, double dribble.
Wow, bruh. Oh man,
Double dribble in all its glory. Now,
that's cool.
uh, before I go any further, Kenny, Landon, do you guys watch Family Guy at all?
Yeah.
Okay, this particular basketball game was on an episode of Family Guy, and what Peter told Cleveland in the game was totally true. There was a person on the creative team for this game that hated the Detroit Pistons so much he created a glitch that if you go to the corner on any side of the court and shoot the ball, it was automatically going in. It was an automatic three.
I think I remember that. I also just Googled Family Guy double dribble, and I'm seeing the little thumbnail, and I remember that.
Yeah. So imagine playing on a Nintendo with somebody who does not know this glitch, and you're up here stomping them by making corner threes.
Man.
It just and then that was the first time for me. That was the first time I had saw a slam dunk in black and white. Period. Like seeing a guy just go up and either he was either coming down with it or he was bouncing off the rim. Either one. But just the simplicity of it was just that was why that game was such a cult classic for me. At number 3, this might have been around you guys' time as well, but then number 3, NBA Showtime on NBC.
Wow,
This was
that's
uh
cool.
this was their attempt at an NBA Jam in 3D, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It still had the on fire. You still had the dunks, the passes, but now you got the big name players: Shaq, Kobe, uh, who am I missing? Elijah one, no, not Elijah one, but Duncan and Robinson at the time. It was. I wish they would bring this back because it wasn't a bad attempt at a three-dimensional game. I'm pretty sure it looked even better now, but that was NBA Jam for us, and I playing it on the arcades, playing it on the Dreamcast. It was just fun. It was just fun.
Hmm.
And number 2, I had College Slam.
Jeez.
Man,
How old are these?
About well, NBA Showtime came out in 2000.
Okay.
No, Double Dribble was I was a kid, so you weren't even probably thought of at that point. Tecmo Super NBA Basketball was out around the time you guys were probably about to be thought of. So that was like 92, 93. And
Yep.
College Slam was right around the PS1 era. So College Slam for me, that was the college version of NBA Jam. But what they did with this one was we didn't need cheat codes. You just went to the option screen. You had the automatic 3-pointers put on. You had the icons put on for the fire, the tornado speed, super dunks, all that, all in the options menu. Didn't need no cheat codes or nothing. And like I said, it was in college version of NBA Jam, so you're playing with the best college players at that time. Scooney Penn, Michael Redd at Ohio State, Teen Cleaves at Michigan State. It was just a game unlike itself, basically. And finally, at number one, I got NBA Action 98. Now, the reason I picked this one was because, Ronnie, as you know, this was the precursor to the NBA 2K games.
Yep.
This was the last Sega Sports game. And Sega Sports is what you guys now know as 2K Sports. So Kobe was hitting his stride. They got Kobe on the cover. He was actually the easiest player to control out of all of it. You actually play this game and start seeing bits of what now has evolved into the 2K games. The foul shots, the 3-pointers, the turnaround screen when you make a jump shot or whatever. And it was actually the last, if I'm not mistaken, this was the last basketball game or one of the last basketball games that actually had Jordan as a rostered player. That's what makes it so special because around this time, remember, he was coming back off his retirement. So this was his second stint. And not a lot of basketball games had him as a rostered player. He was, again, player 99 or roster player or whoever made the game decided to make him. And he was on as a roster player, which makes this one so much more better. And like I said, it's the precursor to all of the 2K games. So, as bad as I am at those games, now I was actually pretty good at this one. And listening to the commentary pronounce Potapenko's name is hilarious. I laugh at that every time. Just hearing him say Potapenko when he's supposed to say Topico is hilarious. So that's my 5, and that was it for me. I love the Street, and I couldn't put the Street Volume 2 on there because you guys had already picked it, and I'm like, damn, I was going to that. That was because I was actually great at that game. My nickname for my character was Rain. He was shooting all the 3-pointers because I couldn't drive and couldn't dunk.
Mel, for me, man, the hard part about picking these 5, there were a couple of them that almost made the cut for me. So I was thinking about the N1 game, that came out back in the day. That was pretty cool.
All about that.
Yeah, man. And then another one that's close to NBA Jam was the NBA Hang Time.
I hated that.
That was the one that was on the first PlayStation and all of that. Yeah, that was kind of weird because I felt like it was trying to be NBA Jam too much. Obviously, of course, it was a midway game, so they had to make a chance, but it was different.
It was way too hard.
Yeah, it was zoomed in weird and all these different little cheats, and the spin move thing they did didn't look right. If you timed it wrong, you was getting the ball stolen every time. And it was the last game I remember playing that had featured the Phoenix Suns with Charles Barkley and Dan Marley. So that's how y'all know what that is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dan Marley and Charles Barkley, the same team. That's an old ass game. Oh, that's all right.
Man, that
So just saying, yeah, yeah, yeah. I
wow.
tell you right there. But remember, me and my cousins would go hard on that game, playing it over and over
And
again. That dude is a whoop me in that game too. It's probably why I didn't make the cut because I
I,
sucked at it.
and Kenny and Landon, I apologize to you guys because I forgot you guys are younger than us, but this should give you some motivation to go back and play some of these and see how funny it is.
Hmm.
I know Kenny will probably be busting the gut playing double dribble.
They all free
Four
on
on
the
the three.
emulators. They all free on them
Yeah,
emulators, man. I'm all about the emulators. They'll tell you.
man.
Gotta
I
use the
mean,
tax return and go get these things.
but here's the thing though. Like they for us, I'll say this for us and for guys that are older than us, they weren't bad games at the time. But now when you go
Yeah,
back, because I know you guys are all about graphics and how smooth it is, but back then, Tecmo was king. Like they were kicking ass in all the sports games. Everything they had lined up was almost pretty good, at least basketball and football wise. And then uh, as the next generation of systems with the PlayStation and then Saturn and the 64 came out, graphically they were doing their thing. And the games got better. So by the time the Dreamcast came around, which was when I was really in my basketball games phase, and I saw NBA Showtime and 2K coming out, you know, couldn't beat it. Couldn't beat
yeah,
it.
man.
So,
And, and speaking of which, for real, y'all, like once all this stuff break, you know what I'm saying, man? Because I would love to get back to going out and doing like down here in Columbus, we got 16-bit and
man, we got that up here too. And
okay,
Landon, that's actually Landon. When you get up here, that was actually my first move. We were gonna have a beer at 16 bit, so you can
16.
get some nostalgia.
Get the old school,
Get
man. Play as much as you
get
want to.
drunk. Yeah, get drunk and play some arcade games and see how well you do.
Oh, I'm game.
Yeah, man. You got to do that or do there's another spot that we have called Pins,
Okay.
Pins,
Yeah.
Pins Mechanics, something like that. And they have a bunch of old school games, and they got a big, bar as well. And they got the little, what's that little, the small little miniature bowling. What
Oh,
we
10,
call it?
Like,
Yeah, yeah, they got
10
that
pin, right?
too.
That one?
Hmm.
Tiny ball?
Yeah, it's a little, real small one, man. Almost like a skee ball looking thing, and oh, dude, having a couple of rounds, a couple of pitches after, and then playing it after, man, that's a good time.
Yeah.
yeah, you
What else
would
you get?
know.
Oh yeah, you already know, man. College was it. Them 5 hour
Yeah, I know.
pitchers, man. Good
Ah
time.
man. I just remember I can't even say I remember doing all of that. I just remember, those nights where we would be at somebody's house playing a game and then all of a sudden a bottle comes out and you're sitting there trying to play Madden and focus.
Oh man, that's the best
And
way.
the best part about it is you're sitting up there wondering why you got four quarterbacks in the backfield.
You got to make a drinking game out of it. Every time you run the ball, a shot. Every time you pass, 2 shots. You're wasted by halfway through the first half.
Man,
Yeah.
that's all kind of bad. How you getting home after that?
Yo, I used to love playing those games with like 4 people, and y'all all try to be like on the same team, and somebody playing quarterback, and everybody's running routes and do whatever, man. It's funny because everybody be arguing like, "Bro, I was open. I hit that cut, man. You should have hit me." And like we on the field for real, man. That was the best part. Giving you a
Yeah,
big old crowd like that,
everyone's
or
off.
having, yeah, man. It's like everybody's the man. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
you like, no, not really, but okay, whatever. Because we would have that, or
and,
like when
and,
I was at Toledo before I transferred to Kent, we did these LAN parties, man. That was the best thing. It'd be like 8 to 16 of us on one game or something like that. Different systems and somehow getting them boys to link it up, man. That was the best part. And doing those while you was having a couple of shots. I still talk to them
that's
guys
all
this
kind of
day, man.
bad.
Still talk to them cats, man. It's been like 15 years, and I still talk to them. Seriously.
Uh, all right, folks. We hope you enjoyed that episode. Thank you for Thanks to Landon and Kenny for being on. Tune in next week. I'm not giving away this one. You just gonna have to check out the fan page. But only hint I'm giving y'all this week is that a wolf is invading the show. It's the only hint y'all get. Y'all gonna have to keep an eye on the fan page. Sorry, but only other hint, I will say this: we are venturing back to combat sports for this episode, and that is the reason why a wolf will be invading our show. Uh, I also planned something for that show, Ronnie. I got to talk to you later about, but just keep an eye on the page, and don't forget to like us and subscribe to us on Facebook and YouTube. Oh, I forgot about that. While we're on the subject of combat sports, did any of you guys see the fight between Usman and Burns?
I saw Usman won. That's it.
Yeah, man, it was bad. It was bad.
I think he
Usman
psyched him out at the weigh-in.
I don't even know who you're talking about.
This is the welterweight fight for UFC at 258. Their pay-per-view coming up.
Yeah,
basically, it's long story short. Usman is a bad man.
Yeah.
And those hands are real. It is not a game to him. And the fact that he throws them with such precision, because that's the second time he didn't got somebody with punches. Like that one punch knocks him down, and then most MMA fighters get on top of you, just knock your block off. But man, that's a bad man, man. I see why, I see why MMA fighters got anger issues and they be in the ring for so long.
Yeah, man. The Nigerian nightmare.
The real one.
That boy did.
Not the Christian Okoye version, the real one.
Right.
All right, folks, but we appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you. Don't forget to join us next week. We do, like I said, we have a wolf invading our show. Kenny and Landon, appreciate you guys more than you guys know. If you guys want, you are welcome back for the football episode because that one should be good too. Just let us know. Other than that, thank you guys for watching for 4th and 15. That's Landon. That's Kenny. That's Smooth. I'm Mel. Peace.